In this video, I am gonna talk about some important menus in the modeling menu set. One is mesh, the other one edit mesh and mesh tool. Let's talk a little bit about this. So I started from mesh, and in mesh I will talk about booleans, combine, separate, smooth, even fill hole, or mirror. I'm gonna just like have a overview of this. You definitely will have time to play around with each of them and see how they work. One thing that at this point I have to emphasize on it and like tell you that's like really important to pay attention is that when you select any tool or any basically option in menus, that you can see they have this small square on the right side. You need to select them and go and reset your tool, because in Maya when you start to make some changes in some tools, and those changes by default is going to be saved, and next time when you open that tool in the same project, you basically get with same changes that you made. And there are many times that you will be confused with some tools that acts in a different way. So it's really important to every time that you use your tool, reset it. If you don't remember to reset it every time, at least remember first thing to debug your problem is to reset your tool. So let's talk about booleans under the mesh, and like three different ones that you have: union, difference, and intersection. In booleans, it's really important that which object you select first, and the boolean is happening between two different objects. It's not gonna happen like you can do the boolean only one object. So at this point I have only one. So one thing that um, help you to, so when you see for the like different axes, like the arrows for different axes, like you can change the size of them by pressing plus and minus on your keyboard. So basically you can make your axes bigger or smaller. So anyway, so I'm gonna like create another object. So right now I have two models which I can like do something with booleans with them. For the union, it basically combines two different objects together and make them like as one. Intersection, create new object based on the intersected area, and difference, remove the intersected areas. So let's do that. I have these two, they should definitely have intersection with each other in order to do the booleans. As you can see, I have like these two objects somehow intersected with each other. If I want to make the union, like the order doesn't matter because it's gonna be a one object. I go to the mesh again, make sure to reset it. I reset everything before, so I don't need to be worried. So I apply and close. I pause the video and I try to figure out the problem that my object disappears. So I search, and like there are a lot of time that Boolean have some sort of bugs in Maya, and that's the reason like objects disappear. Sometimes Boolean doesn't work properly, and that's the problem with like reading the faces. There are some forums and videos how to fix that issue, but I don't think that's gonna be the big problem for you. If not working, you have to come up with different solutions. There is also some tutorials if you really want to do the boolean and how to fix the problem with disappearing the objects based on your need. Just I kept that part in the video because it's really important. If you see that you do your boolean but your objects are disappearing, don't be surprised, you can find for the solutions. But it's really important for me to continue with showing how the boolean works in Maya for you. So I created two other objects that I tested and I don't get that error with it. So if I select both of them and go back to the mesh, boolean, union, as you can see, it created one object for me, which is like you see the p cube 4 has created. What I do, I select the first one, second one by holding shift, and I go to mesh, and I choose first, I choose the intersection because it's pretty straightforward. So when I select it, I definitely need to, I will get the part of the red and like blue, that area that it's like inside each other. So as you can see, this is the intersection. Go back and I want to do the intersection this time. I first select the red one, then the blue by holding the shift, and I go to mesh, boolean difference. This is the part that I get. Like remove the intersected area, but remove the blue one, not the red one, and it kept the part which is like for the red because I first select that one. It's like good for the time that you want to create a hole too. So if I want to create a hole, I do the Command Z, and this time I want to have the blue area left and the red area removed. Basically, I create a hole inside the blue cube with the shape of the red. So this time I have to select the blue first, then the red by holding shift, and go to mesh, boolean difference. As you can see, it created the hole based on the shape of the red for me. So this is how you need to pay attention that, for the boolean, I believe difference is the most useful part of the boolean function, which like it helps you to like for example create a hole inside your shape. So at this point, let's get back to the history and like delete history by type, which is important function because you don't want have extra layers in your outliner that you don't use them anymore. At this point, I see that like these are not a useful layer for me and I only need pcube4. If I select these two and delete it, you can see everything in your viewport deleted, which is like we still need it. It says the pcube4, but this is not there anymore. So in order to do that, you select the component that you need it, but you don't want the extra attributes. You go to the edit, delete by type, history. You will get to that point a lot in the process of your modeling that you need to delete your history, like extra history that you don't need it. As I mentioned, combine is another one that it is really helpful. That's like similar to union, like the same concept that like combine two different objects together as one, and also again same thing, remember to delete your history after you combine something. Separate is another option to do like in opposite way. If you combine two objects together, later you can just like do the separate too if you change your mind. Fill hole is another option that's helpful. So it basically calculate the hole in your model and fill it. This is something different from hole. For example, if I go back to the face component and if I delete this face, right now I created a hole. which is not working in your modeling. You shouldn't have hole like this. So at this point, if I go to mesh and click on the fill hole, you see it creates that face for me. That's the whole concept of the fill hole. Mirror is another option that's like basically you create some forms, it creates the mirror for you based on the direction that you want. And as you can see it, like this is it's helpful when you want to do the symmetrical modeling. You basically create one side of your model. You don't need to bother with the whole part of your model, and any form that it is symmetrical, this is the way to 3D model it. You create one side, and with the mirror function from the mesh, you can create the opposite side of it, and you can choose which direction or which axis you want to do your there is a smooth option. The short key is also 3. When you click on it, it just like make the whole object smoother for you. So if I go to smooth, click on that one, definitely the form is changing, but it's like everything more smoother, and it has like based on the division number that you choose. Basically, if you make it like bigger numbers, it makes your object more smoother. I can't do it so like under the 1. So basically the minimum is 1. If I make it like more, I'm gonna lose more details too, as you can see. But your object is definitely smoother, but way different than that what we created. If I create another cube and add a lot of subdivision, and right now if I go to mesh smooth, you can see it doesn't affect the shape that much because I had a lot of subdivisions, and like right now I make it 3, and basically with the smoothness with that function I get like this result. So many times smooth works perfectly. Don't worry about it as you start to just like do your modeling, and you realize, yeah, you have like hard edges and you want to make it like more smooth. When you have a lot of details, you won't lose that much. Like this example, you still get like a nice smooth surface, but still you have the form.